Hey everyone. So welcome to Indiana specific title scoop. I have been wanting to do this actually for a little while, and I am glad I had an agent reach out and give me a topic they really wanted covered. And with some of the recent changes, I think this is a great topic for us to go over in Indiana, just so we are kind of know what the changes are and how they affect us in our industry. So we're going to do a series on dead people, which is Indiana probate and estates, and just wanted to go over these different types of estates and how probate affects us, and then some of the non-probate transfers. So with that, we'll get started. Like I said, this is only for Indiana. You guys will start receiving them as I put them out. I'm hoping to do them weekly for this series. And then, maybe we'll try quarterly to at least do a series for different Indiana topics. And if you have one, reach out. We could also do webinars, but I know sometimes the shorter videos are a little bit easier for everybody. So let's get started. So what we're going to cover, this is just a brief overview. We're going to cover formal estates, supervised, unsupervised, and foreign estates. So we'll cover those. We'll cover the small estate affidavit, and then we'll cover affidavits for transferring property. And so those are non-probate for the most part: devolution affidavit, heirship affidavit, affidavits that follow transfer on death deed, and then survivorship affidavit. And then last, we will cover just a little bit briefly on the electronic record registry. So you have a dead person in title. Now what? Well, technically, it's probably the estate, not the dead person, but you need to ask questions, right? The sign says ask more questions. And that's the truth. Like when we find out, sometimes we find out before we get the contract and it says, oh, hey, this person passed away 6 years ago. Family's finally selling. Sometimes they tell us there's a probate open. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes, actually, recently, I've had this twice in the last 2 weeks where someone signed a contract and then died a few days later. So it's all dependent on our situation. So we have to ask a lot of questions, right? We have to find out what they did, what they plan to do, how many heirs there are, if the heirs are of age, things like that. So we're going to go over, like I said, the different types, and hopefully this will be helpful for you guys to know what you need to do when you have the different type of probate. So supervised estates are one of the formal estates, and there's three ways to transfer property in a supervised estate: either per the court order, via power in a will, or a distribution to the heirs or devisees. So we're going to go through each of those today, and then next week we'll go into some of the others. So supervised estates that are property transferred per court order, the requirements that you need are below. You need letters testamentary to be issued. You do need a copy of the will. Now, usually the probate is filed and the will is also filed, so you can get that from the case. You're going to need a petition to sell the land and an order approving it. So that's something that sometimes people don't understand. They'll say, hey, I've got the petition to sell, but we really need an order approving that sale so that we know the judge has signed off on this transaction. You're going to want a personal representative's deed. Normally, the estate attorney is going to draft that, but we do want to look at it to make sure we have the right language. We want something like by order of the court of whatever county, say Marion County, Indiana, dated January 1st, 2023. We want that because we are telling everyone who sees that personal representative's deed that not only is it authorized by the court, but we put it in this deed so you know that it is a proper transaction. And the great thing about supervised estates, and although we don't see them as often as I would like, there's no waiting time required. So we can, once we have that order to sell, we can move forward and go on with the transaction, and probate, and the proceeds are then paid into the estate. You can also, like I said, that one of the second way is in a supervised estate to transfer property is without a court order. And what that is that's the letters testamentary, and this is going to be with a will. Okay, so the copy, you're going to have to see a copy of the will. So we're going to get the letters testamentary, and then we want in that will, we need to make sure there's clear language authorizing the personal representative to sell the land without a court order or court approval. So when you look at that, it is usually really clear. And honestly, there's usually an attorney involved saying, hey, look, here's the language, we're authorized. If it is not clear, or you don't feel like it's actually giving them that authorization, reach out to me or your underwriter to find out if we are okay with that language. Because sometimes I've had it where I felt like it was too vague, and we've actually asked for them to get a court order because we didn't feel like it was clear enough. Again, you're going to want a personal representative's deed. And then again, we want language. I'm sorry, I'm clicking too fast here. We want language similar to by virtue of the decedent's said will. And a lot of times we'll put the date and information in there because we really, again, we want whoever looks at this chain of title and looks at that deed to know this was authorized, we reviewed it, and we recorded it because we felt like there was the authorization to do so. And again, because it's a supervised estate, courts overview it or looking out over it, we don't have to wait any time to actually proceed. So the last way that a property can transfer in a supervised estate is to the heirs and devisees. So with this, you want to review the decree of final distribution. That's the final decree in a probate, a supervised estate. And that decree is going to provide the facts about why the property is vested in the heirs. And this can be a probated will or intestate statute. So doesn't matter, but usually it's going to outline and say, the person had a will and the will said it's going to these three people. If it's intestate, they'll just say, hey, this is the intestate statute and it's going to the wife and the children or whoever their heirs are. And then you can vest title accordingly. Now, we do want to record that decree because we want everyone to know why, in fact, we want the title to change and the vesting to change. But we do want to ensure there's no gap within the chain of title at the recorder's office. So make sure that everyone's interest has been accounted for the same as you would on any transaction. And I always recommend doing and I believe it's probably just a best practice to always do the affidavit of aid and title with the decree, because that really explains what happened and why, again, we are moving forward with the heirs or the devisees. On that affidavit, you want to include the name of the decedent, legal description, cross-reference to the last deed of record, the estate name, cause number, and really kind of outline it. And if you guys don't have a copy of one of those, I can send you a template, so just let me know. But this really just helps the auditor and the recorder connect the dots so that we make sure that the property does get vested properly with the county. So we see it right on taxes and moving forward. And again, no waiting time required because the estate is being supervised and looked out over by the court. All right, so that's actually it for this week. We are going to go over the other supervised or the other formal estates next week. And we'll see if we can get into some of the informal, like the non-probate transfers. But if not, we will go into the next few weeks. So we will see you guys next week. And one more thing. After we're done with the series, I'm going to put together just a short underwriting guide with all of this information. So you guys have it in hopefully one page document. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week.